everybody, it's Jen with Caketastic Cakes, and I'm going to show you how I made this Eye of Cthulhu cake from Terraria in its second form. And if you see me use any tools or supplies you can use, check the link in the description. It should be able to help you out. Now I'm going to start with this ball cake. That ball cake right there, I'll put a link on how to make it so that you can make it yourselves if you need to. And I'm going to start by showing you the cake, and then we're going to make the tendrils or the optic nerves and the veins that come out of the back of the Eye of Cthulhu. I'm using red gum paste on lollipop sticks, and I'm putting it on so you can see it's tapered, it's wide at the one end, it goes out skinnier, and I'm wiggling it. So I'm putting pressure up and down to make an uneven, zigzaggy kind of a shape. I'm going to make a bunch of these. I probably made like 10 of them. And I made different sizes. There are a bunch of long ones, a couple middle ones, and a couple little short ones like that one right there. And if you're watching this and you're going like, wait a second, Jen, this looks a whole lot like your other Terraria cake, that's because it is. I made a live stream, or I made this cake for a live stream, and I started with the first form and then I transformed it into the second form. So I actually had one cake that I made into two cakes. So yes, it starts out the same though, so we're still okay. All right, we've got the white fondant that I'm laying over my cake. And as you can see, it's not going to cover the whole cake, and that's fine. I'm going to leave part of the back of it, like a quarter of it maybe, uncovered because I'm going to cover it with red fondant. If you're familiar with Terraria and the Eye of Cthulhu character, or boss, I should say, you'll know that the back of it is, it's not an entirely white eyeball. The back of it is red, so I'm going to leave part of it uncovered on purpose. You can cover the whole thing if you want to. You don't have to do it this way. This is just how I did it. And I'm using my fondant paddle there to make it all nice and smooth. Here comes the red fondant I was just talking about. I'm going to cut off the bottom edge there just to make a flat edge to go against the cake plate. But otherwise, it's going to wrap around it and cover up all the edges. And you can see it's very much the wrong size, but that's okay, because I have my handy scissors there that I keep in my toolbox for just these occasions. I'm going to trim off all the extra. And then I'm going to kind of smooth down the edges just so that they're not jaggedy like I took a pair of scissors to them, like when you cut your bangs yourself. But I'm going to make it nice and smooth while still leaving it kind of wavy and ripply. It's not a nice, clean optic tissue. I don't know what that is on the back there. Now that skinny little piece of red fondant there that I rolled out and trimmed is going to become my veins on my eyes, or my eye, singular. I'm going to connect it coming out of that red tissue there at the back, and I want them nice and big and very squiggly. I'm going to have just a handful of them. Those are the main veins that come up, and as long as they're ripply and wrinkly and they don't have any real rhyme or reason, then they're perfect. I'm going to have them, you can see where I was describing how that red tissue on the back is kind of wavy. I'm going to have it coming out of little peak waves. If you're having a hard time getting it to stick, just use a little bit of water on a paintbrush or something to help, and that will do it. And once you have, maybe 5 or 6 of them, then you're going to start putting the branches on of the veins. You're just going to use more of the red fondant, roll it between your fingers if you want to, make it nice and small, and branch it off. If you're real ambitious, you could go even further and continue branching off more and more off your branches. But this is where I called it good. The game is kind of tricky because it's all pixelated. You can't get a lot of detail into the pixels, but this is where I went with it. So yeah. Now once you're happy with your main veins and the little veins branching off of it, I felt like it was kind of empty in between the big branches, so I threw a couple medium-sized ones in between just to kind of fill it in, and I really like how it came out. I thought it looked really good. Now this green fondant is going to be covering the cake plate itself. I felt like, silver shiny flowers didn't scream Terraria to me, but the color green does. So it's just some extra fondant I had that I rolled out and wrapped around my cake plate. I decided to go with the wrinkled look just because I liked how it looked. You could always go smooth if you want. Doesn't really matter either way. Or you could do icing, or you could do nothing. It's all up to you. And ignore that the iris and pupil that you saw on the front. That is for the first form of this cake. And I'm going to show you how, I'm making the second form. These were the veins and optic nerves from before that we made out of gum paste, so they're nice and firm. Stick them in, but make sure they're all going in the same direction. That's really important. I'm taking some burgundy food color with a little bit of water on my paintbrush there, and I'm painting over all the red. I'm going over the veins, I'm going over that big wad of tissue or whatever it is on the back. I'm going over the optic nerves and veins coming out of the back of the eyeball there. And I'm using a really big paintbrush. I'm kind of rushing it because it was for a live stream, so I was trying to keep things moving. So you're going to see me kind of mess up here and there where a little bit of the food coloring will get on the white part of the eye. But it's okay because you can always clean it up. It's not a big deal, I promise. But this way it makes it look a little shinier. It has more of an organic look. It's got highlights and lowlights because of the coloring. And I really like how it came out. I thought it looked pretty darn cool. Now if you're looking at this video and you are interested in the first phase there with the iris on the front, then you can find the video for it. I'll put a link in it for you so you can find it if you decide you want to do that instead. Now I'm cleaning up those spots where the red got on there. You just take a clean paintbrush with wet water, a clean paintbrush that's very wet with water, and you just kind of mop it around to make it real puddly, and then use a piece of clean paper towel to mop it up. Alright, so in my live stream I took this cake apart to remake it from first form to second form, but in theory you'd be starting here. You're going to cut out a hole for your mouth, and I started with a knife, but now I'm using an X-Acto knife because it cut much cleaner. My fondant was not really sticking very well to my icing because I had the cake in the fridge before I put it on, but that's okay. It still works. So I cut out a hole, my oval shape here, and I'm using my knife now to cut at an angle so it's tapered downward into the center, and I'm just going around the hole I made. You can make it a little bit bigger if you wanted to, but the size of the mouth is really big, but I was happy with how this came out even though it's not quite proportional. I thought it still looked pretty good. Alright, there's my cake in the center. Now that I cut out that chunk, I've got to ice it. So I've got some more of my buttercream icing there that I am just smoothing it over so that the crumbs won't go all over the place. And you might be wondering why I put that paper towel down there. It is to catch the crumbs. They were starting to fall all over my green fondant that I used to cover the cake plate, so I didn't want that to happen. I didn't want it to get messy and drip icing on it or anything, so I gave it a bib. I just took a paper towel and tore a oval shape out of it, a crescent shape out, and made a little bib. Now here's some more red fondant. I'm going to fill in the cavity of that mouth now. Again, this isn't like perfectly shaped, but that's okay because it's fondant, and as you know, fondant is stretchy and slightly moldable. So I cut off the main edges there, and I picked a side that I thought was going to be pretty good to start with, working from the top down just so that it anchors and holds on nice and tight. I'm using my scissors again to trim off the extra that just doesn't want to work. I just have a little pair, I think they're sewing scissors actually, that I found to be quite handy. So yes, just pressing it against that fresh icing that I put in there so it's going to stick in there. You can see it's a little crooked, I guess you could say, but I mean it still looked really good. I was happy with it. If you want to take the time, make sure yours is nice and straight, it would probably look even better. So yes, do better than me. A little bit more of that burgundy food coloring in there just to make the mouth match the rest of the red. And now I'm going to start adding the teeth. The teeth are just white pieces of fondant that I rolled into cones. I'm trying to cheat here. I'm sticking them on with just a little bit of water, and of course they're big and heavy and they're sagging and they're falling. And throughout the rest of this you might see one or two fall out that I end up replacing and putting back in. What I recommend you do is don't cheat. Take a little piece of dried spaghetti and stick your tooth in with the dried spaghetti and then use that to anchor your teeth. I'm doing it for the top teeth because there's no way they would have stayed. So I've got 4 teeth at the top, 4 at the bottom. You know, do as many as you want, as long as they are really long and really pointed. That seems to be the main thing. It's just he's got big teeth. He's got big, sharp teeth. So yeah, there you go. Now I'm going to outline the mouth with another piece of red, just to, again, kind of like finish the look of it and not give it lips per se, but an outline to the mouth. It'll just clean it all up. It'll make it look a little nicer, and it will help hold those teeth that I tried to cheat on in place. So there's that too. I'm just rolling it out nice and long. I had put some water around the edge of it, And then I'm going to just carefully kind of press it into place. So you're going to see I'm going to go around the edges. So anywhere that the outline of the mouth was a little messy, it's going to help clean it up. It'll make it all stay nicely. Now to finish off my Eye of Cthulhu cake in its second form, I'm going to add a few more veins coming out from the mouth. It's just more of the red fondant rolled out really, really thin. I actually rolled it into like a letter V shape where it was fat in the center and thin at both ends, and then just fold it in half and pressed it into place. Again, a little bit of water if you need it to. I threw in a couple single ones because why not? It just makes it look a little bit cooler. And then that's pretty much it. So there it is, the Eye of Cthulhu cake in its second form. So, time for the closing spiel. I hope you found this video helpful. Please like and subscribe because it helps me out as well. We can help each other. I've got a lot of other videos out there as well as the other Terraria one I was talking about, so take a look. And as always, thanks for watching Caketastic Cakes.